do you get these questions from? Jeez. Anybody want to talk about filmmaking? All right. Okay. Have we lost our connection to our... So, where are you from? No, I'm just kidding. So, let's see. Have we lost our connection? I mean, I don't know. You know, that's a very big question. So, and I don't even know how to begin to answer it. But maybe, you know, I mean, the Fountain was a little bit about how in Western society we've lost connection with old people. You know, and our connection to growing old. So maybe there's something to that, but I don't know. I mean, people are doing all different types of stuff. You're probably right. I mean, most people are probably thinking about Paris Hilton than they are the ancient Greeks, you know? Or I guess no one's really thinking about Paris. It's all Kim Kardashian now, so. But,
Northwest.
But, you know, I don't know if Kim Kardashian represents some type of ancient civilization or something. But maybe there's some type of connection to that, so I don't know. Well, I think any good film does that. You know, that's what makes good film, is when you suddenly are connected to the, you know, emotion of another human being that you don't know. I mean, I always talk about the magic of filmmaking is that you can be transported into the head of a 6-year-old girl in Iran and go through her journey, or like Amor last year, be with an older couple and completely connect with their journey at 80, trying to come to terms with what they are. I mean, that for me is the magic of film, and why film is such an interesting medium, because it just translates all over the world. You know, if you succeed in making a good film and telling a good story and representing real people, you know, you can connect with people all over the planet, you know. You could also blow up a lot of shit and connect with a lot of people too. So, you know, I'm more interested in sort of when the human spirit is captured on film and then it really works for people everywhere. Well, Ari was a roommate in college, and when I finished college, I asked a different roommate, who's the smartest guy we met in 4 years at Harvard? And he said, Ari. So I was like, And then Ari went off and got a PhD in neuroscience, and when he was finishing that up, he was sort of expressing to me how much he kind of was sick of academics and wanted to do something else. And we used to always, you know, for fun, he would sit around with us and talk about ideas, and generally in something that would take us weeks and weeks, he would figure out in about 5 minutes. So when he was sort of bored, I offered him the forbidden fruit, and I said, come work here in Hollywood. And so he just joined up, and then me and Ari went on to collaborate on the script for The Fountain, and then we just finished writing Noah together, so, and he's just now hanging out a lot. I think me and Ari are very different, and that's a good thing, because I think we've grown closer together, but when we first started writing, we came from very different places. He's a scientist, like full-on scientist, so he's very logical, and I think I bring more of an interest into people, and so the combination works out pretty well. You know, when I was working on The Fountain, I read all the conquistadors, and I love the story of Cabeza de la Vaca. You know Cabeza de la Vaca? Is he famous here in Mexico? Más o menos? Lots. But there was a Spanish film that was made about him that's excellent. It's really a very good film, and it has a lot of mysticism in it, and I think it would be amazing to do a big conquistador film, but you know, it's amazing that when you read, what was his name? Bernal Diaz wrote the book, The Conquest of Mexico. The Bernal Diaz book is an amazing read. It's something I think you read down here, but it doesn't make it doesn't really show up on the curriculum in New York City. So when I read it, I just couldn't believe, you know, how the whole conquest went down. It was really fascinating. And so, I mean, it would be a dream of a filmmaker to remake Teotihuacan and to try and imagine what that looked like, it would be quite an adventure. Has there been a great conquistador made in Mexico film?
I don't think so.
Is there a Hernan Cortez film? Is it good?
No.
Yeah. I didn't see it. I'll check it out. How many years ago? The movie, not when the conquest happened. Unless they had news cameras back then shooting the whole thing. That's a good question. It's very, I mean, that's the best part of the job, is that you get to submerge yourself in lots of different worlds and try to figure it out as well as you can. It's kind of like every film takes about 2-3 years to make, and so you get an education over those 2-3 years of that world. You know, so I didn't know anything really about the behind the scenes in wrestling, or I didn't know anything of behind the scenes in ballet. You know, so a lot of it was spent a lot of time trying to figure it out. I was kind of overwhelmed with the task to try and understand what Swan Lake is and what it means. So I spent a very long time just watching it and listening to the music. I didn't grow up with classical music, so I didn't really understand it. But I just listened to it as much as I could. So I still don't really understand it. I just sort of feel it. And then I kind of interpreted for me what the story of Swan Lake meant. And luckily, ballet is abstract enough of a form that it can take in different interpretations and different takes on it. So we were able to sort of put the story we wanted to tell about identity and about losing yourself into the story of Swan Lake. By Carlos
Saura.
Oh, he's the one who makes the wonderful dance movies like Tango.
Exactly.
Yeah. We looked at. I didn't know about his work, but while working on the movie, people told me about his films, and I watched them, and they're beautiful films. You know, I'm more interested in story, and he's much more interested in the dance. But it's very interesting how he brought story into dance. But I thought his stuff was really beautiful, and I think we all looked at it, and meaning me and my entire crew, we all looked at it, we talked about it. You know, but his stuff is definitely set in the abstract world of a dance studio. And we were trying to tell a true, something that was more real, set in the real world, that crossed over into the fantasy of the dance world. Well, I think deeply, the thing about these old stories, and you know, these stories about our origin, I've always found it really interesting how, even though we're people from all over the place that were separated for a very long time, there were stories that were being told that were, in many ways, had a lot of connections. And I think that's always been an inspiration for me, is that anywhere you go in the world, people do art, people do music, people do dance. And so the similarities between all the different cultures has been something I've wanted to emphasize in my work. And so I've looked at all the different origin stories from people across the planet and tried to find connections, and then tried to weave them together to try to tell, you know, to try and show people that, you know, there's a lot of connections here, and actually what's more interesting is the similarities as opposed to the differences between us all. You know, you look at the Mayan origin story, there are definite themes and elements that are very similar to the Judeo-Christian, and the separation is, you know, tens of thousands of years between those origin stories. So the fact that those stories are being told over and over and over again, there's something about that is inside us that makes us human. So I think it's something interesting to look at and to try and connect it to us as present-day modern people, and there is something that connects us to those stories, because we've been being told them since we were tiny, and for some reason those stories have stuck around for so long. So there's something that's connecting to us. So I think that connection is what I'm interested in, is what makes us connected to those stories for so long. What is the feeling of my cinematography? I don't know. I mean, look, when I do a movie, I can't tell you what gets me interested in the story. It's usually something about the characters, something about, something about the way it feels that it just keeps me awake and it keeps me thinking about it. For me, all of my films have taken a very, very long development. Black Swan we worked on for over 10 years. The Wrestler was an idea since I was a young kid. Noah has been an idea since I was a teenager. Pi was a collection of all the different ideas I've been thinking about for 10 years. And so it's kind of a marathon. There's a lot of different ideas and a lot of different projects that are floating around that I'm thinking about working on, but the ones that keep coming back to me are the ones that I end up doing. And I don't know what that feeling is. It's just, I just sort of create a story and then I think about, a way of telling it. And then there's always the limitations of money because you never have enough money to do what you want to do. Especially when you do something that's different and original, there's always less money. And so then you have to sort of think within that scenario of having less money, what is the best story I can tell and how to tell it. That's why a film like The Wrestler is vastly different than The Fountain, because I had very little money to make The Wrestler, and so I had to figure out a visual style that worked with it. So hopefully you want as someone who works on that, I think anyone who works, making something to share that, maybe people call it artistic, you want to have a feeling, a connection. You want all the pieces to sort of be connected, yet you don't want to be repetitive. You don't want to make the same exact movie over and over again. So I don't know. I mean, that's all I could say. You're just sort of working on it, and then you also. I mean, I've been lucky to work a lot of the times with similar crew, and so those people are going to bring very, very different feelings to it. After we finished The Fountain, when I made The Wrestler, I actually didn't work with anyone that was the same. I had a new producer, I had a new cinematographer, I had a new production designer, I had a new costume designer, a new editor. So everything was different except for Clint Mansell, who was the same composer. But it was how do you create a vision together to make something? Am I answering your question? You look very confused. You mean why should I keep working? I would love to do something else. You're studying philosophy at the university? I don't know, maybe I should do that, because it is really hard and it's a lot of work. But unfortunately I have very few other skills. So I'm kind of stuck now. I got to keep making them if I want to eat. But no, I mean it's fun to. I mean, once again, it goes back to the second question we had, which is it's a chance to basically learn about a different world and to basically learn about new things. So, and there's something exciting about learning. I think the youngest old people I meet are the curious ones. And so I think that's the most important thing to hold on to is curiosity. And luckily, filmmaking allows you to be curious. You have to be curious to keep making new films.